than this matchup. One team's won 3 games, the other's only won 2, yet despite being 4 whole positions apart from one another, there's only 2 points different in the standings. Luminosity and Wildcard are by no means currently locked into the positions where they currently sit, but maybe this game just matters a little bit more than both teams might give it credit for. I'm Jacob, he's Foxay, he is Jesse. This is game 3, and this is a Beast Coast, sorry, wow, I did a whole intro for a team that wasn't Beast Coast and then just said Beast Coast. Wildcard had a really, really good week last week. Not the same thing for LG because they only played 1 day and lost both games in a doubleheader, and somehow this headline is 100% true. We didn't expect this coming in, especially given how the first week went for both squads.
Not to really diminish Wildcard's success, but I really think the maps that they played last week took a big favor into why they found some wins. You know, Oregon. We talked about it in the pre-show. I don't know why we keep going to Oregon. Hopefully we don't see an Oregon again. I mean, that's just me.
Yeah, I think that for Wildcard, I mean, it's good to see them bouncing back, right? They had a really rough start through the NAL stage so far, but they did get those back-to-back wins. They improved a lot throughout those games, so I'm excited to see that. We did see the stats quickly there from LG. You see their attack now, 39, their defense as well, won't be too high. 8th place across the board in basically every statistic. So there are a lot of areas where we want to see Luminosity improve.
We're both doing it now.
Blue circle teams, man. But no, there's a lot of areas where I think they still need to improve. I think they have been making improvements throughout the stage, but I think Wildcard so far have been making those improvements a little bit quicker, and they've been getting a bit more success because of it.
Let's touch on LG, not Beast Coast. We're getting this right very slowly. For LG, because of that slump, it's easy to kick them while they're down, but the overall intent is to look at, again, the accomplishments that a relatively new and young team has been able to produce so far since being in the NAL. It's been good for the games they've won, but it's also pretty easy to pick apart their mistakes.
Certainly, and I think this is a team that has high highs and low lows, and sometimes when they do have those lows, they look very scrappy, they look kind of all over the place. Sometimes it feels like we saw Hat and Kickshore were the only 2 players above 100 EPS, and it did feel like Hat was kind of really the big reason why they were able to win the couple of rounds that they've won and the couple of games that they've won. But I do think that overall, like, they're starting to play a bit more as a team, and we are starting to see a little bit of that comeback potential.
Let's recount that doubleheader they played just last Thursday as well. They didn't have a game to play on Friday, which meant they had to take those losses from Thursday and then just kind of stick with it. They played Oxygen, and it was relatively close. OXG, before this DZ game, even said it was their toughest game to date, then played DZ on Chalet and just got beat until they couldn't breathe. But now, they don't have that many top 4 teams left to play if they're able to get past Wildcard.
I mean, the thing that's impressed me about Luminosity is the fact that they can lose a game, go back, look at the footage, improve, and then advance going forward. They lost to SSG, and then they got 2 wins.
Yep.
Last week, they got 2 losses, so if the theory consists, I would say that they could get the next 3 wins, especially not playing necessarily any other top 4 teams, besides if you count Sonics up there, but they haven't looked that hot either. So in the run for Luminosity here, I definitely would say that they have impressed me in the way that they've been able to improve so far, and we've been seeing a lot of improvement game after game. So I think they're in a really good position, especially now going up against Wildcard.
Well, there's some things they're doing right. They're planting a lot, and they're trying to adapt, but we could still see some improvement from this team overall.
Certainly, and for Luminosity, you know, that's what it's always going to be about when you're a new, young team. Unlike a lot of squads coming into the league, you know, this is not a squad that has that rock of experience to really fall back on. A lot of the other newer rosters that we see, including their opponents, Wildcard, who are a bit new, they did play, you know, last season under a different org. They've still got those really experienced players that they can rely on to look back on. These are 5 really young guys. None of them are even wearing jerseys in their pictures, right? They just haven't been around long enough to really establish themselves. And so I think it's going to take some time for them to get up to that point where they're playing with the other teams in the league. But as Fox was saying, it's that consistent ability to get better every week, every single week. And if we're seeing that, then I think I'm happy as an LG fan.
And ultimately, it's down to this LG team to eviscerate whatever expectations we came in with. They're the ones that set their own stage, and they need to make sure they can do that, especially against an opponent that's played the same map so far 3 times this stage. That's Wildcard. They won their doubleheader last Friday, 7-4 over Los on Oregon and 7-1 over SSG on Oregon. Bold as hell to take the same map 2 games in a doubleheader, but they got 6 points, so who really cares, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the word consistency, and one thing that Wildcard, I know, kind of ironic name, Wildcard, one thing they're good at consistently being is on defense. They're just so slow and methodical with suffocating the other team, playing such an old-style version of Siege.
Yeah, I think this is a team that, you see being tested not as much on a variety of maps, but they're starting to flow more and more. You've got these experienced veterans coming in, and we're finding success because of it.
So let's just see what Bosco had to say about the way the teams performed and what they thought of themselves coming into Super Week.
It's Bosco, and I play for Wildcard Gaming. For the last few games coming up this week, we're not doing anything different than we've been doing all stage. We're just keeping our heads down and just working as hard as we can, trying to make what we do better and better each day. We started off pretty slow, playing a style that just, wasn't really working, and we're week by week we're actively, trying to change what we're doing and improve upon it. Kansan, he's one of the best players that I've played with in my career. He just has that fragging ability and that game sense that just makes him a force to be reckoned with every single round. Kansan's just very good at, I think, positioning himself and getting involved in like what the overall goal is. He's just very good at being able to find impact in rounds. I think that every team in the league right now should not be underestimated, should not be slept on. Obviously the top two, M80, OXG, they're obviously showing that they're a force to be reckoned with. So I think they'll be like the best competition for playoffs, especially OXG. I think they look really good, and they picked up really good players. They have 5 really good players that are working well together. So yeah, I mean, I definitely hope to go up against those guys in a best of 3. I'd be happy playing any team in a best of 3, to be honest. It'd be fun to play SSG again in a BO3, play M80 again in a BO3, get some revenge on those guys. So yeah, I mean, we're ready for anybody we need to play to get to where we want to be.
Well, if it's a point made by Bosco, it's one that's definitely worth paying attention to, especially hearing the teams that he would love to face in a best-of-3 context. But you still got to get out of the best-of-1s before you do that. And those BO1s, especially last week, were a tale of the same game, but also a very different game at the same time, especially where Oregon was concerned. Jesse, you made a pretty bold statement on the desk last week. Can you just recount for the people who might have missed it?
Did I? I mean, listen, I didn't expect that they would change anything going through from one Oregon to another, because they played the same map on the same day twice. And unfortunately for me, well, they did. And Mipa kind of called me out for it after the game. They changed everything going from Oregon #1 to Oregon #2.
I mean, going from Oregon to Oregon, obviously it's a map that you can't really switch too much up, and they still were able to go in and counter it as if they were, I mean, that's kind of like insane, don't you think? Going in and looking at what your team does and then creating complete counter strats to what your team's going to do.
Counter-stratting yourself is
counter-stratting that counter-strat. It's like counter-stratception, and to me, it doesn't really make too much sense. And I think everyone can see why it took me a second to catch my breath for a minute. I mean, really dress the part, you know?
Maybe I think I owe you an apology because I didn't respect your game. I underestimated you, and that's my fault. So that's a clown for me for not predicting you guys to change absolutely everything about your Oregon. And we saw them play those defenses back to back. We saw them try to go down to the basement. I loved the zombie adaptations where they started to move that over towards main stairs. We started to see more Valkyrie play on the top floor from Kansan. Ultimately, I hated on Wildcard last week, and I paid the price in my predictions because of it. But you know what? I'm hoping to make up for that this week, and I'm hoping to see Wildcard do well.
Fox, there might have been some good analysis in there, but I just can't take him seriously with any of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the general consensus is Wildcard is really good at Oregon, and let's hope they don't go there.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll see if LG take the ban phase in a different direction, especially considering Wildcard have already shown a whole bunch on. Oh dear God. Again? Right. They're doing it again?
Oh, brother.
Listen, I've predicted Wildcard to lose 2 Oregons in a row. I'm not going to do it a third time. They're back in their comfy place. It's what Wildcard like. They already changed all of their strats from their second play to their third play. I've got full confidence they'll change it all again for their 4th.
It's the 4th time they're playing at this stage.
How much?
Their 4th time. Their 3rd time playing it in a row.
How much new stuff can you do on Oregon?
It's the same map, and Bosco even said it himself. You don't really change up much on Oregon, except where Wildcard literally changed everything. It's a weird thing, Rainbow Six Siege at a competitive level. So, Wildcard again? I mean, Jesse, at this point,
you started off.
Yeah, there's no way you pick LG.
I can't pick LG. I would have to keep wearing this in the next segment if I picked LG.
Okay, well, you might need to lend me that for the next segment because, in my opinion, I think Luminosity, we talked about them go and looking at the footage.
Don't do it.
This is the 4th time Wildcard's played Oregon.
Wait.
I think I'm going to go with Luminosity just because this is the 4th time Wildcard is played. I mean, I'll wear it proud. We're going to see. Listen, me and Jesse talked about it, and we just need to make sure Lax does not get first.
True.
That's the crazy thing.
So we're splitting the system.
Lax with that DZ pick over Oxygen has now tied everybody on the deck. He's been down at the bottom. He's been in the abyss for this entire stage. And now we're doing this? Fox is just trying to reclaim his lead by any means necessary. You really think LG have enough footage and they're going to be able to beat Wildcard in this game?
When I look at all the teams in the NAL, who's the one team that is grabbing the footage, going into the back rooms, and adapting, making things better? They lost 2 games last week. That means they win the next 3. I'm going Luminosity.
The next 3?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, man. I got too many jokers on this desk. Parker, Pengu, please save me from this hellscape. Have fun casting, by the way.
Streak over both SSG and Los in their last playday. They had the back-to-back. By Jove, they've made it. They're going up against a team that has maybe not realized their full potential, but both of these squads are newer teams. You know, there was a lot of question marks about some of these North America teams coming into this matchup. LG now officially in last place outside of Los. I should say this.
Okay, yeah.
Outside of Los. So technically in second last place. Wildcard in 4th place, tied with 8 points. They sit in the same spot as Space Station. Space Station will be in our final matchup of the day, going up against Beast Coast, who are 1 point back of them. It is a very competitive NA league. Dark Zero in 3rd place with 9 points. LG in 8th place with 6 points. If LG wins in regulation, they also jump up to 3rd place, Nick. So, my, how close it is. What are your expectations for this match?
I'm not entirely sure. Like, that's where I'm at, and I don't like that. I'm like, okay, LG could win, Wildcard could win. They're playing Oregon, like that 50-50 map where it's about like those basic fundamentals and level of play, and teamwork, of course, is all maps. And frankly, this could be a 7-0 for either side. It could be an overtime game for all I know. Arbiter bans, nothing too out of the norm besides maybe the Solace here. Oregon, you don't really have all that much movement happening because attackers, they lock down the map pretty quickly. So usually Solus is out open, then you ban the Asami, for example, you ban like the Capital, the Munti, like those kinds of operators, of course those being attackers. But Asami being let through here is a very big surprise to me. Of course, if you're starting defense like LG, you know, you're very happy about that. You can now play Asami on every single bomb site and just strengthen your position. And it's going to be a very utility-oriented start here for Luminosity. You're going to bring the Wamai, the Mirror, the Asami, the Smoke, the Warden. But just by looking at this lineup, you can go, they're not going to roam, right? There's going to be 5 people in the basement waiting the attackers to arrive by the bomb site, and you want to brawl it out in that 5 versus 5. Of course, you can swing that freezer staircase launcher, a big tower staircase, kill a couple of drones, then fall back, try and stall a little bit of time for the attackers and slow them down. And Wildcard, during the operator or for the drone phase, they have also recognized that yes, this will be about utility. Attacker repick onto the Grim, showing the Capital, that's gonna be the bombs that execute. They got the Ash, specifically to counter that mirror windows by shooting an Ash breaching round directly onto the mirror window. It's gonna shatter it, just like when you melee punch it. That's how you can counter that operator. And you got Maverick to guarantee those hatches will be opened up in case there's a Kaid. There's not though, but just in case. Kixera will start on the roam, looking at that first drone. You will find it, and then peel back, step by step, again, just slightly slowing down the attack.
Hansen entered the day as one of the highest rated players in the league, and honestly might have even surpassed Newers after that poor performance, I think you can say, from Newers.
Yeah.
And yes, Hansen does retain the highest rating now. Also the 2nd highest KD, 5th highest entry, the 4th highest KOST. So it has been a tremendous glow up for Kansan. And I mean, when he was on that Sonics roster, I don't think anybody ever doubted his capabilities as a competitor when it comes to mechanical aim. But the rumors were to be true, and I can't even recall if Sonics ever actually made an official statement about this. The issues that Kansan had on the team was just simply with gelling with the team. It wasn't that he wasn't a good gunner. So, in that sense, as long as he can gel with this wildcard roster, you get the best out of him. Wouldn't really surprise me to see him continue to play the way he does. Wildcard also has Bosco near the top of ratings. It's been a great bounce back for Bosco, who took quite a long time off, but there's a reason why we call him the Boss Goat.
So nice having him back, honestly, and he brings that old school vibe to the new version of Siege, I feel like. You know, as an old fan of the game, an old player of the game myself, Wildcard, very basic round right now, going to that, you know, second phase of opening things up, and now entering that third mini execute here. Eddie holding blue with the shield, being annoying towards the attackers, and might become problematic here. No, there's a grenade, should clear the shield, they're gonna peel back a little bit. There's a double team up here on blue, trying to deny one of the possible injuries for the attackers. He's going out, here's a Wildcard, they wanna go right now.
They will go, both teams, in fact. Wi-Fi cleaning up with 2 kills. Eddie holding inside of blue, he knows there's another coming. Spiker creeping up. He takes out Silent. Eddie still in this position. Wi-Fi, a 3rd kill. Spiker was holding over by blue. Now over towards Pillar, looking hallway. Ooh. He eliminates what remains of Wi-Fi. It was only a single bullet. Spiker will also grab that diffuser. Next player up, tucked into freezer door. No cross to be established. Eddie is on the ground. Kick throw, holding the door to get the final kill, and Luminosity will start off with a round victory.
Oh, they will. And it is really like classic Basement Oregon, 5 versus 5, chaos in the server. No one really knows what's going on, but everyone has an idea of what might be happening, right? You're gonna drop down that meeting hatch, come down the tower stairs, walk into blue double door, and it comes down to those small moments of team play where who has the 2 versus 1, who can land those grenades or capital fires, Grimbees, etc., and just come out on top, then stabilize, fall back, hold that second position like we saw from LG, and then just secure the round. It's a really good start, but it's the expected outcome, right? That base and bumps that is so strong, favoring defense, and it's why we see more and more teams stop roaming. It's not worth the risk of losing a player when you can just play it out 5 versus 5, and unless you're a team that just, for some reason, suck at teamwork in those kind of scenarios, you might as well go for it. It's a very safe play. It's a very comfortable position to be in as a team. Now, LG, they gotta go that bomb site rotation. Secondary is usually this, hit storm, bomb site. And this will require you to extend around the map. You cannot just sit the bomb site because unlike basement, it's not very strong. Everything's self-destructible from downstairs. You got the big window, and you got the single window into Kid Storms, cutting off the bomb site in half in 2 separate areas. So, what do? You play big tower with an Eddic rotate. They had Lesion instead of dining, trying to hold small tower as well. And you're just trying to spread out thin across the map, so that at the very least you'll know where the attack will be starting from. Then of course, if you know the pressure is too much, you can fall back. Play the bomb site itself, but now you have information. You know what's clear, you know what isn't, you know what to expect. Or you can play in those positions like Big Tower and just say, I am going to either die in this position or get kills here, because I'm not gonna surrender this map control. Silent's gonna punch the window, and if it's being watched, he might die, but no, it's not. He finds a free pick.
Oh my. Not the start that Kansan wanted, especially after I just hyped him up in that previous round.
That's the curse.
No. 0-2. I'm You don't get to thrust that upon me. No.
Oh, no.
Silent's still in a pretty advantageous spot up here.
Oh, yeah.
1 minute from Wildcard, spent on trying to flush Silent out of the top of back tower. Instead, maybe it's time to use that time and that focus elsewhere. Wildcard rush through bedroom, open up closet wall, looking in the games. Wi-Fi now taking some damage as LG finds some targets from Wildcard. Can't shoot back though. Now it's Bosco to find one of his own. He suffers for it. There's an adrenal surge that will go out now as Wildcard are opening up attic, at least from Trophy. That's not usually the way that you see people doing that. Down goes Spiker. I wonder where Silent has ended up, as the last time we saw him, he was on an expedition over towards T3. He's still in this spot.
Okay.
Silent's got 3 kills from back tower. Nobody from Wildcard has been able to shake him off. Vertical and Bosco now looking at a more linear attack. Vertical, last one standing. LG have only suffered some damage to Wi-Fi, and they will get a flawless round to go up 2-0.
I mean, that's just a big tower round victory right there from Silent. I mean, the thing about big tower is that it's such a hard position to clear as an attacking team, because you need like 3 players or more to deal with it. Most teams, unless you very decisively, you join up in prep phase, you say, hey, there's a guy playing big tower. Guys, let's go for him. Isolate, pick up the kill, hopefully play 5 versus 4. Unless you do that, very active play and decision, you're not gonna send 3 players to tower ever in the beginning of a round. Because again, as attackers, you're not go master bedroom, you're not go small tower, you're not gain map control. So what happens? Well, one player has focus on big tower, holding those window, he dies. Then somebody else has to do it and hold that window, then he dies afterwards. Silent finds all those kills. Meanwhile, the bomb side, nothing's really happening. Wildcard, they were not progressing anywhere, not applying any meaningful pressure. So LG don't have to move anywhere. They don't gotta rotate, they don't gotta expose their positions. They're feeling very comfortable in the server. And it's all about when you play a map like Oregon that is, it's pretty much figured out at this point, right? Every team plays in a similar fashion. It comes down to like minor details. It's about trying to catch opponents by surprise or playing aggressively together, or just strategically sound. Wildcard in the first 2 rounds, they haven't really hit all those checkpoints. Sure, on that basement attack, it was a 5v5. They lost some of those small gunfights, whatever, not a big issue. But in that previous round, they were locked out from the moment that Kansan died. And that's not a great start. This time though, Kansan almost dies once more, but he is successful in the gunfight. And now Wildcard, they have the advantage. It's turret or bomb side. They're in the favorable spot with an advantage in that first opening duel. And they have 5 players alive. It's good stuff.
This is more like we expected from Wildcard. Still got 2 Adrenal Surges as well from Vertical to try and get Kansan back up to full HP. Obviously, I'm no numbers guy, but we'll get awfully close. One thing with Gridlock is that Gridlock being a not a 3 armor anymore, being a 3 health. She has more HP than everybody else. I don't know about you, but I still die hard with the
Armor and speed.
Armor versus speed, etc. Yeah.
Oh, me too. I call them 1 speeds instead of calling them 3 healths. That's how I go about it. You know, some players, they don't like playing those like 1 speed operators because like you're just very slow. Oh, okay, good night. Doesn't matter if you're standing still like Spiker was, but if you stand still in a gunfight, you might just lose out because of course having movement in Siege doesn't there's no penalty in your aim accuracy, so you might as well be moving while shooting. 4v4 now, Wildcard to get the opening pick, and now they're rotating upstairs to try and pick apart this roam, but this is where things get difficult. You got those mute jammers in your path, you got goo mines, Rambi takes down Deletion though, Silent will not get a 3k in this round, and Wildcard, you're still progressing up top floor, working multiple angles.
Vertical finding every goo mine that he can. Goo magnet. Realizes he's got control of Attic, there's nobody there now. Contested Wildcard having some issues. We go back to a 3v3. Next row and Silent died on side of LG. Now it's Spiker and Bosco who have faltered. Bosco still searching for his first kill. Ditto for Vertical. Don't really have your default soft destructor from above. Oh my goodness. Hat, all 3 kills. Called it a hat trick. Rampy outduels him. If Wildcard can keep trading, it's a good spot to be in, but you can't trade your way down. You need to get that diffuser into the bomb site and get it planted. Vertical will surrender the case, and Luminosity looks poised and ready to go up to a 3-0 lead. Unless Rampy has something to say about that. Soft wall to his right, flashing to his left. And Wi-Fi is there to continue a strong performance that all of LG, frankly, has had. They're undefeated so far and will do the perfect site rotation here on Oregon.
I actually like this from LG. They're applying pressure so well on the defending side. You know, they lose top floor control, they go for Attic flank. You know, they don't just rely on the bomb side, they don't just rely on the roam, they're always playing both sides of the coin. And again, Wildcard got a problem solved in so many different directions at the same time. With that being said though, Wildcard did have 2 different teams operating at the same time. They had 1 team going upstairs for the roam clear and 1 team trying to work the bomb side or apply some pressure downstairs like small tower, dining hallway, etc. So I will say Wildcard did the right thing in that round. But if you lose in those, you know, duels, if you lose in those 1v1s, it doesn't really matter in the end. And yeah, they were missing a vertical destroyer for the bomb site itself. So you have Gridlock's secondary shotgun tearing apart the floor very slowly. And guess what? When you open the floor, you only have 3 shells. If that was your 3rd bullet in the magazine, you can't shoot the player that you find right beneath your feet, so you die. Those things happen. But yes, perfect bomb site rotation, which on Oregon is so crucial. You have one very playable bomb site off the basement. Hit Storm secondary is, I would say, 50-50. Tertiary is a bit of a coin flip. It can be great for defenders or terrible based on what team you are and what kind of attacking team your opponent is in the current meta. So now you get 3 rounds, great. Back to bomb site, basement bomb site again, likely to go 4-0. This is exactly where you want to be. This is best case scenario for LG. And they look so strong last time in basement. I'm surprised in one way that they're not going to do the exact same thing with their operator lineup, but at the same time, why do the exact same thing and be predictable when you can make minor changes? There's no Asami right now, for example. We're seeing Lesion with those Mutiamas upstairs getting a bit active with the roam. Making, again, Wildcard problem solve a new scenario they have not seen before from LG in the server as of this moment, and having to adapt on the fly instead of relying on the previous round outcome.
Oh, this has been an interesting day in the NA League so far. Lowe's giving M80 a scare. Huge scare has forced M80 to fight for their lives. They ended up muscling out a victory. DZ demolishing OXG, handing OXG their very first loss. Now it's Luminosity springing out to a 3-0 lead over Wildcard. Probably a good time to talk about the site stats, though. Oregon's the 2nd most played map in North America, and it is a very defender-sided map on certain bomb sites. Laundry Supply, you expect the defenders to win, but not Storms. Storms actually is a 37% win rate for the defenders. That's very low for a highly played site. It's been played 19 times. Overall, Oregon, 54% of all rounds won by the defenders, 46% of rounds won by the attackers. It's not a huge difference. And it certainly shouldn't explain the 3-0 lead that LG has.
Roam game's been used up. They burn half the clock, though. 1 minute 35 seconds left. They've dropped down that freezer hatch. They're now playing that 5v5 round again. So double stack the freezer staircase here. That's scary. The big difference now is the pace of the round. Wildcard before were breaching hatch at like 1 minute 50, 1 minute 45. Now they're breaching their first hatch at 1 minute 30. So they're a bit slower, and you might not think 20 seconds, not a big deal, right? Well, it kind of is. Because after breaching those hatches, you gotta start taking staircase control. And you gotta drone the bomb side. Then you gotta get all the 5 players in the right positions and get ready to execute. And of course, one last final check, drone those exact player positions again for updated information. So time could be a factor in this round. We see a more, I would not say passive setup, because there's no Asami. So Wi-Fi also in blue, playing an elbow with the shield instead of blue double door. And again, LG, they're trying to figure out where is the attack coming from. They're putting out those feelers, going for some swings, trying to gain intel, but they won't know for sure until they see the fire and smoke from Capital and the beast from Grim.
Wildcard's just gonna go for it. They drop in, perfect time to do that. They haven't cleared freezer though. Kicks throw with 1, Kansan looking for more, only the single kill for Wildcard. LG plovering WC. Vertical and freezer will once again find the goo mine. Different round, different site, same ultimate end result for him. And this is a hopeless situation. Toss out a grenade, it's greeted by the magnet. Now there will be a shotgun around the corner waiting for him. He somehow outduels Eddie. Can he get himself up in time with the adrenal surge? He can, but Wi-Fi seals the deal. What a performance for Wi-Fi. And yeah, I think that look on the face of Vertical tells the whole story. What really can we do? That's just the look of defeat. DZ streaked out to a huge lead, and now it's LG doing the exact same thing to Wildcard.
Defense is strong today. I gotta say though, I was like, okay, where the fire and Capital smoke goes, that's where the execute is gonna come from. And then Wildcard, they do the opposite. They don't use the Capital utility. They make that off-pace play instead, because if I think that's what's gonna happen, LG might be in a similar boat, right? You expect the utility to be spent first. Capital fire, Capital smoke, Grim Bees, execute, bang. The first Grim Bee went out, no Capital, just straight down the hatch trap into the bomb site. They were trying to catch LG off guard by executing 5 seconds before they were supposed to, but then again comes the issue of map design of Oregon. when you have that basement bomb site, you can drop down a hatch or walk down a staircase. Whether you're going fast or going slow, using your utility first or after, you're still kind of predictable as long as it's at 5 versus 5. Because when you have 5 defenders alive, you can watch every single avenue. You can watch Freezer, Laundry, Big Tower, Meeting Hatch Drop, and Blue Double Door. That's literally every single way into the site. If Wildcard had killed 1 or 2 defenders on the roam clear, even if they had suffered losses on attack as well, at least defenders cannot cover every single point of contact. That means there's going to be a gap somewhere if either you're lucky, you have the drone intel, or you get the right timing. But because it's 5v5 and not 3v3, attackers don't have that luxury, so they're completely locked out. Wildcard cannot find early advantages, and when they rarely do, well, they don't build around victory with it either. I like the drone work, I like the setup, I like the operator picks, so it's not really the bigger picture that's falling apart, it's those minor details that is making these rounds so hard for them.
The score lines right now, nobody on Wildcard with more than 3 kills. Bosco still held scoreless. Meanwhile, polar opposite on LG. Not only are they winning these 4 rounds, but they're preventing Wildcard from getting any real picks. 9 kills through 4 active rounds. You're looking at just about 2 kills on average for Wildcard every round. That is nowhere near close. I mean, really isn't that much of a difference between Luminosity to Wildcard. Yeah, Wildcard were in 3rd place until DZ vaulted over them after the last match. Wildcard were only 2 points ahead of Luminosity. Just as when we cast Brazil, we reference this. In North America, there is a logjam. All of these teams are so close to one another in the standings. You're gonna have to scrap for every single point you can get. And right now, Luminosity up 4-0. Hoping for a 5-0. They've already killed Spiker, and now Rampy will fall too. Wildcard really struggling to get in the building.
And they're fighting it all. Horizontal, they're fighting vertical, they're fighting every single location all at once. But again, it's LG with more players in stronger positions and more players alive in the round. Vertical finds one here onto Wi-Fi, a strong player from LG. But what now? What's the actual exit gonna look like? How do they get into the bomb site? Again, they gotta walk up a staircase or jump in a window, which are not favorable positions to be in.
I mean, where are Kansan and Bosco? These are your 2-star players. Look at the stats, and these guys are clobbering the competition.
Ow.
Kansan dies to silence, so does Bosco. Vertical's last alive again. The fact that it's Vertical always put into these positions 3 rounds in a row is terrible, and it looks like he's gonna head out of the building and will prompt a timeout for Wildcard. Look at Vert. Look at him. He's big chillin' at this point. At wants the kill. They're hungry for it. Break the spirits of Wildcard.
Operators, you have run out of
There's
time.
defeat all across the faces of that Wildcard roster. It's Luminosity's day today. 5-0. You didn't tune into the DZ versus OXG match. It was over very quickly. DZ went 6-0 in the first half. Luminosity poised to do the same thing.
Does look like it. I mean, they got tertiary bomb site coming up. It is, you know, the best spot for Wildcard to get their first round victory. But looking at, you know, their player faces, which I can kind of like, okay, what's their mentality like right now? I don't think it's looking that good. Even if you win your final attack round in the first half, how are you going to handle going on to defense? Because the issue with going down 1-5 and then going to side swap is that all the Luminosity will have to do is win the tertiary bomb site attack. That's it. They can lose every downstairs attack. They can lose every upstairs attack. It doesn't matter. They will still win before overtime. So LG, they don't really necessarily care it's 5-1 or 6-0. It's pretty much all the same. Unless they really mess up or Wildcard really show up, they should have this one in the bag. But it's so important not to let go if you're LG. And I think it's also like why Head is chasing Vertical in that 3 versus 1. You're not supposed to do that, right? You gotta like make sure you don't throw the round, you know, you wanna make sure you win. No. We're in these guys' heads. They're trying to take a timeout mid-round by running away. We're gonna go after them. We're gonna fight them every area of the map, and it's why we see once again Silent playing Big Tower. Nothing is gonna be given over for free in map control. none of those spots that attackers would like to enter the building from is gonna be allowed. LG, they're doing such a good job at maintaining confidence right now. And Wildcard, they're gonna try and match it. They've sent 2-3 players on the big tower. That's what they need to clear out Silent's position. Last time, they didn't really care about it, and they were punished for it. Now, have they left? Oh, okay, just shoot through the window, right? Straight to the barricade, first bullet headshot, Silent's gone. It wasn't like a mini execute, but you see right now, there are 4 players ready to deal with it. Unfortunately for LG, they fall without a battle. They don't waste time. They don't bring those caps out arrows. No nades were spent. It's just a straight up bullet to the head. Really easy pick for Wildcard. That should put them up for a good position here.
And honestly, Silent wasn't the only reason why we saw some difficulties in previous rounds, but you go back to that Dorm's defense. It was Silent who held the position in Tier 3 for the entire round and got 3 kills from that position. The fact that you've been able to flush an offsite player off as quickly is great for Wildcard. Obviously, it might seem silly to say, but it really is a great start for Wildcard, and it might be one of the best that they've had all game.
I think it is too. Now the thing is, can they convert this into anything meaningful? It doesn't matter if Silent dies if, you know, LG still win the round. It doesn't matter if Wildcard, they finally get that opening pick if nothing comes after. You know, they get big tower almost for free. Talk about the first minute of the round, but what about the second minute? They have not moved from this position. They're still in big tower, barely in the building, struggling with those keeper barriers, not destroying the soft wall, and Wi-Fi has gone undroned in tower. I don't think they know this. And if they don't drone it out, this will be trouble later on. Because if Wi-Fi just sits back in that corner, he can get one pick, throw out a toxic bait, and stall for time and keep the enemies at bay. There's only 45 seconds. Wi-Fi can single-handedly win this round for his team. Oh no!
There goes the phone calls and now a smoke as well. Wi-Fi's trapped, but he's got access to the case. And he'll ping it. The rest of LG might be compelled to action as there go the flashbangs. Smoke as well. The greater problem with Wi-Fi is he's trapped and he needs to get out of this position. But look at that. They're baiting him in. Had and Wi-Fi working together in a 6-0 first half for LG. 2 games in a row where the defenders have gone flawless to start the game.
I don't think Wi-Fi could have played that any better. I mean, it is textbook what you can do with smoke. He had trigger discipline, seeing if you're gonna get a second kill, one taps the thermite, toxic babes goes out, denies the flank on the door as well, and finds 2 more kills in the round, making it 3 total. That is a one-man army. And again, that's Wildcard getting the opening kill by shooting a bullet through a window and just taking down Silent. It's a freebie, and it goes nowhere in the round. Wildcard, they need to kind of just go for things. Just say, guys, yeah, we're down bad, we're struggling, we're not really getting the kills, we're not hitting our shots, but commit and try and, like, just go for it. It looks like they're afraid to take gunfights. You're attacking. You have to take gunfights. If not, that timer hits 0, you're not in the bomb site, you're not planting, you will lose the round. Go down trying instead of just simply going down by not trying. It's better to lose by attempting to win than to lose by just simply giving up. Not that Wildcard have actually given up, but it almost looks like it sometimes. Not a whole lot of life. LG, they will do the same thing that Wildcard did in their first attack around a basement. They play that double power operator, Grim Capital, they play the Ash in case of a mirror counter, they play a great gun in Finga, and they want to bring that Maverick in case there's a kite to dine those hatches. Again, they have a flexible lineup that can attack any portion of the bomb site. Backside take, frontside take, doesn't matter. They can deal with destruction. They can kill at strong player positions. All LG need now, technically speaking, is to get into the building and start opening hatches at 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 45 seconds and get to the bomb site in a 5v5. And that should be it. It should be the round over for them if they can get there, and there's no room for Wildcard, so they should get there because nothing's stopping them from getting there.
Oh well. This has been 2 matches in a row now that really been just dumbfounding results. Might be a sense of defeat for Wildcard. Bosco still held off the score sheet. In this match, you had Bolo who didn't die once. This time you've got Bolo. This time you've got Bosco, similar name, but unable to get a kill. The differences here. We talked about getting hatches open. This is the exact timer that you said LG needed to get the job done, so they are working the clock as effectively as you could imagine. 90 seconds left, 90 seconds played.
They are very efficient. One, Wildcard not making it hard for them, but two, LG, they know what they want right now. They're very decisive, and again, all they gotta do now, get into the right player positions, drone one final time, and then choose a direction. Front take or back take. Right now it's 2 laundry, 2 freezer, 1 meeting hatch. You two go south, walk down the staircases, and win those gunfights. And then you will take this round, you will take this match.
Certainly not the outcome that we expected. Whether you had Wildcard or Luminosity winning is not really the point, but Wildcard have seemingly been without an answer for LG. Not just their defender strats, but also the aggression that came with some of these roams. There goes a fire arrow, both of them expended, and LG will want to walk in. They're greeted with some gas. Wildcard starting off the killing and actually holding up their end of their bargain quite effectively. Luminosity will answer back, but they've got a lot of work cut out for them. Wi-Fi off to the races. He's been great today, almost had a second kill, squaring himself up, and will now go for the defuse plant. Silent holding the cross over by Freezer. He doesn't see Vertical, tucked into the corner. Wi-Fi off, they double swing, and Vertical gets both of the final kills. A long road to walk for Wildcard to get back to safety, but just as we said in the previous matchup, all comebacks need a first round to get off the ground, and Wildcard have done that.
They're on basement, the quote-unquote statistically easiest bomb to win as a defender, and I gotta say, it was the prediction and read from Wildcard that I think won them that round, or at the very least, it set them up for success. Because they figured out where the attack was coming from, Freezer and Laundry, and we know that because that's where the Toxic Babes were thrown to. Right before LG wanted to hit that go, go, go button, we saw Toxic Babes being tossed, stalling out the attack, and then LG thought, okay, we kind of need to be aggressive. We gotta surprise our opponent here. So they actually want to push through a Toxic Babe to go into the execute. So they can't see very well, they're taking a bit of damage, and they lose in the gunfights too. LG, they wanted to go for it, they got figured out and they got countered. Wildcard, they do the job, but it only is gonna get more difficult. You know, we're talking about the side swap. If you go onto the defender side, being down 1 and 5, all LG do, all they gotta do is win the tertiary bomb side. LG went up 6-0. All they gotta do is win a single round, doesn't matter where. And Wildcard needs to be perfect on bomb side rotation twice. Downstairs, upstairs, tertiary. You're halfway there. Downstairs, upside, tertiary. Congrats, it's overtime. It is a statistical nightmare in terms of the odds that are stacked against you. I wish well for Wildcard, I really do. I love seeing Boss go back. They've had some good games, had some bad games. This one is a tough one. They have put themselves up in the worst position possible and not looking alive on the attack. Of course, in defense, you don't gotta be as proactive and like entry the building and try and, you know, take away map control because, you know, that's yours, you're a defender now. But you still gotta put up a fight and go for those engagements together. Hey, I need a buddy over here. Let's swing this person together. 3, 2, 1, and make that 2-1 happen. They did it last round in the 2 versus 1 post plant. They gotta do it now again on this bomb side and every single round going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go perfect. And I mean, people who've never really played might not know how tough that is, but
it's hard.
Not be able to drop a single round. You need competing 6-6 halves, which we've only seen a tiny number of times at this level. These teams, so far, in the standings and in their results, have looked relatively evenly matched. I mean, Wildcard on paper were the better roster. Sometimes upsets do happen. How close the standings are, I don't know if we can consider this an upset. 13 kills for Wi-Fi, by the way, as he starts off the killing. Bosco got his first kill in the previous round, but if this is it, well, old friend, you're going to finish 1 and 8. Ooh. The slow ADS changes showing you exactly what happens as Xro dies to Kansan. That's the only kill so far for Wildcard. Hold on a second. The cavalry has arrived. Rampy and Spiker both working together to get 2 kills. There goes Wi-Fi. Spiker holding down the fort all on his own. Eddie on a tiny portion of HP. Now have to get the job done, but Spiker stands pat. Wildcard win 2 in a row, and that one looked like it was not going to go in their favor. You trust the players on site. You trust those anchors, and good things will happen. You can slowly starting to see some of the color returning to the face of these wildcard players. Not as pale and as dreary as you might have thought. Wildcard's still very much in this. But again, you got to go perfect. That means 4 more rounds for wildcard.
Yeah, speaking of, you know, how hard it is to make a comeback happen, I think a lot of it comes down to risk assessment. When you're playing 0-0 round count, so first round, you can go for the craziest play with the biggest risk, because what do you have to lose? You lose the round, it's 0-1. You got like 6 more rounds to lose before it's over, right? When you're down on match point, every single round on defense, from the very get-go, risk assessment becomes difficult. Because you might see a possibility of jumping out a window, or going for a spawn peek, or going for a flank, and you know there's a chance it's not going to work out. And again, if it's not doomsday, you can always go for that play and say, you know what, I tried, it's okay, no big deal. But now, every single decision that you make as a wildcard player, both big and small decisions, you have to always in the back of your head go, is this worth losing the game over? And that's very difficult for some players, even the most experienced ones, to deal with. Because nobody wants to be the reason why you lose that round to then lose the game. Especially once that comeback is slowly setting in. Now they've gotten 2 rounds in a row. Okay, things are looking good. Feel more confident, players getting some more kills, you know, the communication's flowing better, you know, there's more color on their face like I mentioned. And then let's say they win the 3rd round as well. Okay, really good. And then 4th round comes around, oh no, don't lose, don't lose. Oh, come on guys, like we've gotten 3 rounds, so we gotta keep going. It can become tricky mentally speaking. That's the biggest obstacle, I think, for these players. Gotta show they can do it. And they fight and they swing. Randy finds one, almost a second there. Silent again, first guy down for OG.
Silent's been one of the best players for Luminosity, not just in terms of total kills, but impactful kills. Wi-Fi's been the other. And what a surprise, he gets yet another kill. Wi-Fi's gotten a kill in almost every single round of this match. Getting 1 kill in every round is elite territory, frankly. I remember there was a period of time where Shaiko had something like a 1.08 KD. Ooh. People were like, wow, 1 kill a round. That doesn't seem like much, but if you're playing at this level and you can consistently get 1 pick every time you play a round, that's very impressive. Just as impressive as that kill onto Eddie from Kansan.
LG is scrambling right now. I mean, their plan A is no longer in action. That's out the window, right? They lost 2 players. Now it's about fishing. Sit out the bait, see what's gonna bite, and hope that you get a pick or 2, because 3v4 Oregon, that's a tough situation. You don't have a lot of manpower, so either you stack on one side or you spread out a thing with no trades, and you gotta rely on those good old 50-50s.
This is a very, very defender-sided Oregon. The only way that we see in a single attacking round 1, unless it's in overtime, would be for a Luminosity victory. Wildcard will ride out this favorable side. Kansan still on back tower stairs. Kixrow doesn't seem to know that. Once the smoke clears, the Valkyrie will be shown. If he's able to get this pick, it could have broken open the round, but he won't. It's all up to Wi-Fi, who has the 2 kills for his team. Shot at from Garage. Wi-Fi reacts. But he's got to confront Split. There's still somebody playing in Garage. The moment he walks up, he might get cut down to size from inside a meeting. All the while, the timer will work against him.
15 seconds.
Every second, Wildcard gets closer to pulling off yet another round victory on what could be one of the most improbable comebacks that the NA League has seen this stage. 3 players now from Wildcard will hunt down Wi-Fi as he gets that diffuser down, falls off just to bait them in, and Wildcard 3 in a row.
I think we all know the problem is right now, and it's attacking. Attacking is difficult. It is, but I feel like for Wildcard, they were lacking aggression, they were lacking decisions, and they weren't really doing a whole lot. For LG, they're a little bit over, like they're too eager almost to get into the building. We see them sprint in time and time again and just dying to somebody holding an angle, and they're not fully ADS'd in. And then there's no trade, there's no comeback in there, there's no refrag. So it kind of just falls apart very slowly. But losing the first player makes things all more difficult. losing that second player, improbable. You're just not supposed to win anymore unless defenders make a massive hiccup in the round. And while Wi-Fi are picking up a lot of kills right now, even on the attack, they're very impactless. Like, he's 1v3, 1v4, whatever, walking around doing his own thing, and he might be getting some kills, but the round is basically over. Like, you gotta tighten up now if you're LG, play closer together, and almost play like they did in that base and bomb side, sending 2 or 3 people doing one single objective together, and then go to the next step. Because in basement, they know how to do it. We saw it in the first round on attack. Ever since then, it's been like, hey, you go over there, do your own thing. I'm gonna go over here and do my own thing, and let's just hope that it all works out for the better. And that's not consistent, right? You want to work together as a team, utilize each other, enable each other, play as a team. Basement's not gonna get any easier, and the good thing, I guess, is that LG now have an idea of how Wildcard are approaching their defensive rounds. They've seen all the 3 primary bombs that they're probably gonna be playing. But if you're Wildcard, you can make those micro adjustments to still keep it somewhat fresh. For example, the mirror doesn't play this time. That wasn't the case previously. So small changes, forcing adaptations, but LG played Ashe previously. They're gonna bring it now again. The mirror shouldn't be a big issue, but if one of those 1-mite discs from vertical catches an Ashe breaching charge, it could be.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb. All set.
I'm impressed with these defenses from Wildcard as well, but I mean, honestly, it's immediately evident that neither of these teams are the most practiced on attack. Again, when you have newer rosters playing together, attacks are significantly harder to pull off than defenses. There's more work to be done. Relatively slow early rounds since LG went on to attack, Nick. Certainly not the same pace that we saw when LG was holding more aggressively on defense and Wildcard was attempting to get into the building quite quickly. A number of rounds where Wildcard wanted to set the pace, but they ran headfirst into a brick wall.
I think it's good to change it though, because I think their speed has been the problem. Again, not on the base and bomb side, that was fine, but on Kid Storms and Tertiary, again, they're sprinting in, a little bit too excited about the fact they're up 6-0 perhaps. And the issue when you start losing rounds on the attacking side is that you feel that guaranteed victory also slipping away very slowly. So I like this from LG, right? They're not as quickly, but 1 minute 40. First hatch opened up. Other hatches follow shortly after, surely. Got Wi-Fi on the Ace, they got the Maverick as well. No problems here. But the issue at basement again, this 5 versus 5 bunker setup, you can do the hatches in good time, you can roam clear effectively and quickly, but it doesn't matter if you can't break the bomb site itself, and it's just, again, it comes down to those small details. If a guy drops the hatch, when Spiker throws at C4, that's bad. If they can get those mirror windows, for example, that's good. The flashbangs goes down, Silence gonna clear the angle, swing, get it, boom, 1 mirror window out of action. But there's a second, also towards this laundry portion of the map. That's the next step most likely here for LG.
Well, Silent finds the new jammer that was by that mirror window, Nick. This might be one of the later rounds where all 10 players are still alive. 45 seconds left, and you wouldn't really think the round has happened at all. There's been no action at all.
Tiger's throwing the C4. Could be dangerous.
Just sitting and waiting, and there's that C4. Kansan dropped. Eddie looks like he might be able to do cleanup. Vertical still on pillar. Silent and Eddie striking. There goes Rampy. Wildcard holding so strong. 3 rounds in a row. Spiker still with a pulse. So it's winnable for Wildcard. Things do look bleak. Bosco 1 and 9. He'll need to get more than that. He drops Eddie, immediately turning around. Spiker finishing off the kill. It's technically Bosco's, but there's Wi-Fi to the rescue. A small opening appears, and despite their 3 rounds in a row, Wildcard just could not dig themselves out of a hole that deep. Luminosity prevails. They will pick up all 3 points over Wildcard.
It's well deserved. I mean, those first 6 rounds were dominant from LG, but it goes both ways, right? It's a good play from one team of LG and a very weak attack inside from Wildcard, but again, both teams struggles on the attack. That's where they both got to sharpen up. That's Oregon. Everyone should know to attack it. Here, neither team really had it figured out.
Yeah, if this is a map of fundamentals, as we always say, you need to work on your fundamentals of attack. Both Luminosity and Wildcard worked well as a team on defense, but showed that there were some serious issues with coordinating on attack, whether it was poor utility usage, whether it was bad droning, whether it was your main entries just simply not getting the job done. Wi-Fi was inarguably the best part of Luminosity on not just defense, but also attack. That consistency across both sides of the map really helped carry that team forward. Obviously aided with the fact that some of Wildcard's superstars, well, it looks like they folded early. Either way, that's our third matchup in the books. One more remains for today. We've got a break ready, and then we'll come back with our final match of our play day.
I think it's pretty safe to say at this point, if you have the option of going to a map 3 times in a row, don't do it for a myriad of reasons. 1, the team that you're playing can probably strat exactly into what you're doing. 2, everyone just generally expects you to play that map over again. And 3, it also makes you look dumb because the analysts are probably going to predict you to win if you've won it 2 times before in a row. And that kind of happened to 2 of the guys here. One of them at home, the other on this couch. Jesse, that whole spiel about Wildcard changing everything up, and then they don't change anything in this game.
Wildcard, I give up. I'm going to throw in the towel here. I predict you to lose every game last week, and you pop off. You don't seem to be able to lose. You pull a masterclass of Oregon defenses, and you switch up every strategy you could possibly run. And then this week, I say, all right, Wildcard are a great Oregon team. They're going to switch up their play styles. They're going to play a style of siege that's going to catch LG off guard. And then you don't win a single attacking round. What's up with that? I can't predict you anymore.
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, last week they counter-stratted the counter-strats. But today, I just don't think they counter-stratted the counter-strats of the counter-strats. And that was the issue that fell down. And unfortunately, it just didn't work.
If they had played 2 games today, maybe they could have counter-stratted the other counter-strat to the one that they played from before. But they had to have won the first Oregon somehow. And they did. They cleared that out pretty well, then went into the game against SSG last week, counter-stratted the hell out of that, won that game. Here, it just didn't look like anything was working from the word go. That's 2 straight perfect defensive halves on the day. And Luminosity had one of them.
I wouldn't even say that it was necessarily Wildcard underperforming. I really thought Luminosity had just such a great game plan. They were really hard to clear out of these hard positions. Elbow on the basement, big tower on the top floor, Wi-Fi right here, tucked up back by T1. I mean, the positions that Luminosity were able to play uncontested, Wildcard just had no specific answer to deal with these players at any moment. They kind of just left them there to roam free and just focused on their execute, but they never had time to execute because the roamer was always coming in, the pressure from the back was always coming, and they were never able to have an answer for it.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Luminosity for sure. They got themselves into strong positions. They stayed there undetected, and then they made the most of those positions. I do think Wildcard needed to be so much better at clearing them out, though. Every single time, I feel like there was some kind of an early game advantage that would go the way of LG. Sometimes that meant LG were getting big picks because they were not getting droned out, or sometimes they were popping off and finding multi-frags in the early round. Sometimes that just meant that they stalled time and then were able to retreat back to the bomb site and still find that success. It really felt like Wildcard could not find any success in the early round. Yeah, they got their 3 defense wins on Oregon. Fair play, great job. But this is a map where you have to be showing up on attack, and Wildcard didn't today.
2 big performances we should note on LG. First, Wi-Fi, 17-5 performance on the day. Doubtless the best performance he's ever had in Tier 1. Really good masterclass from him. But the other is on a guy who was rated really, really badly coming into today. By SiegeGG's metric, was the worst rated player. By EPS, was certainly down within the top 10. Eddie bounced back in a big way today, and that absolutely deserves credit.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie's this type of player who he's been on a struggling team who haven't won very many games, and he's their hard support, right? So he's obviously not going to be up there on the statistics, but I really felt like today he was a very dependable player on those defenses. He was really able to lock down certain areas of the map and make sure his roaming players, his more aggressive guys, had something safe to come back to. He was definitely putting himself in positions where he could rack up some more of those frags, which was super nice to see. And all in all, I think that Eddie has never been a bad player despite the stats, but is finally putting himself in that spot where now he's able to have a little bit more of the impact, and especially when the whole system of LG seems to be flowing better.
And I think the confidence that all the players are showing comes from the preparation. who's the team that you're going to look to right now in the current state of the North American League that's going to take footage and make plays off of it, you'd look to a team like DZ, maybe a team like SSG, but so far Luminosity has been the team that has been stepping up with each little bit of VOD, each little bit of games that they get under their belt.
Sure.
And then when they got into attack, I really love how they were trying those attempts to get through Wildcard's defense. They were trying to break through, and we saw Wildcard amenting a little bit of a comeback.
They won the first round after their timeout, too.
Exactly. And then right after, you just completely threw me off. But what I was going to say was Luminosity just decided to just throw everything out the window on that basement round, on the second attempt on the basement round, and just try to outnumber Wildcard and pretty much slay out and completely gave up at the strategy. So the adaptation is not only outside of the server, but we saw it inside of the server, especially in that last round.
The second half felt like it was LG taking a couple of rounds to figure out what they needed to do to finally penetrate that Wildcard defense. Wildcard tried a lot to penetrate LG's defense, and over again, it's met with either not droning effectively because Silent was left in tower by himself, Wi-Fi was just at the very bottom of it the one time he finishes the half. But round 4 in particular also felt like it was a bit of a weird one for Wildcard, just because LG aren't doing anything like uncharacteristic for an Oregon defense, right? Yet they still win.
Well, I mean, I thought round 4 was actually a great example of LG doing something slightly unorthodox. You know, the basement bomb site's not one where you typically see a lot of roamers. And I want to credit Wildcard. Their drones are good. They know these guys are top floor. They've got the intel on where these players are at, but there's no follow-up. There's nobody else actually coming in. There's nobody on the top of White Stairs. There's nobody's on the kids' window. You have absolutely zero cutoff for these players who, they know they're up here, but it's such a simple fall-off because they still control dining. They still control security. They control every part of their escape. If you're Wildcard and you want to take advantage of these players who have isolated themselves on the top floor, you got to cut off dining. You got to cut off security. You got to make it impossible for these players to fall back to site, but it's so easy. And we see them just nonchalantly walking in through security, getting on back, and falling back through freezer.
And I think that's been the story of Wildcard's issues, is not their defenses, but their attacks, and the fact that they've lacked a consistent entry or a player that you look to make those big plays. And that is a clear example of one of those rounds where everyone was posted up, but no one was making that push to go for those players. They let them run all the way back. They stall all their timeout. And unfortunately, not having a consistent entry that's able to go risk his life to make those plays. I mean, what's the point of doing all the groundwork, all the hard stuff, getting in the positions, getting these players to run away, tail tucked between their legs, and you're not there on the other side to catch them?
It was a pretty even game entry-wise, too. I was making sure as the attacks went for Wildcard, they got some. They started out with entries and then weren't able to convert. LG had a phenomenal recovery rate, and then it went the complete opposite direction in the rest of Luminosity's defense. That was just a one-sided landslide no matter who had the opening frag.
Yeah, and I felt like even when Wildcard were finding the opening pick on the server, on the scoreboard, it would immediately get answered back, and we'd see the actual advantage of the round go back either in the favor of LG or at least even enough that LG still has a solid chance of winning the round. And of course, Oregon defense, you expect yourselves to be in a bit of an advantage going forward anyways. But ultimately, yeah, I didn't feel like they were doing a good enough job of, first of all, getting that opening pick in the third quarter, in the second quarter, but also more specifically, just like being able to hammer home that opening pick and convert it into a round.
And going down 6-0 just puts you on such a bad position. We saw Wildcard just put up a little bit of a fight. We know they're good on their Oregon defenses, but when you go to the third time and then you are the team to pick it and the other team gets defense, you have to be able to bring a little bit of animosity, a little bit of unique abilities. We saw teams like Los that just go for rushes directly on the basement site. I mean, I'd love to see a little bit more of adaptability and just risk-taking when it comes to Wildcard's attacks.
Well, we've already seen 2 games so far today start with 6-0 first halves and then not really be much of a fight on the back end of that game because it's almost already over. Will the same thing happen in game 4 of the day? I don't know. Beast Coast and Space Station might be about to put on a smoke show. We'll see you in a sec.